Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about a healthy view of sex.
Gentlemen, let's get this party started! Are you ready? Let's get ready to rumble!
Hey everyone, welcome to Life After J-Dub's live stream, and we are back. The ladies with me today. Come on up, ladies.
Hi, Stella.
Kelly. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Hey. How's everyone?
Good. I've got an extra little thing sitting with me tonight.
Well, let us see.
Oh, your puppy.
What's her name?
Cute.
It's Dexter.
Oh, it's a he.
It's a little boy. He's half Ponchi, half Chihuahua.
Oh,
He's my baby.
Very cute. I've seen him popping up on Facebook.
Oh, it's great.
I just woke him up from his sleep so he can say hello to everyone.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate that.
You can contribute.
Yeah, especially with our topic for today.
Yeah, no, he's still a virgin.
Okay.
And he was never a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay, it's not affected. Okay, so we are talking about sex.
Ooh. Bom, chicka, wow, wow.
Something that we were not allowed to talk when we were J-Dubs.
Not really.
Not really.
No.
Like it's one of the uncleanness, not to be spoken with each other. So
Unless, of course, it was coming from the platform from a brother.
Yep.
Yes.
What are we gonna
time
get
we were
from
allowed.
Advice, wasn't it?
the male's viewpoint on sex?
Yeah.
But we're gonna be talking about our viewpoint after leaving the J-Dubs. So gonna start with Michelle. You brought up this subject before. So we want to hear what do you want to say about this question about sex. What do you want to impart with our viewers also?
Cool. And so basically it's something I wanted to talk about because even in general society, it's still somewhat taboo, but especially more so in the J-Dub community. And even as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, like navigating the world around us today, it's bound to come up. The things that we learnt during the meetings in our time as witnesses versus how it should have been, what we should be learning and what we should know now, we should know. And just wanted to chat with you guys and get it all out there, and maybe we can help someone.
And I think that as a JW, the messaging around sex is always generally pretty negative, particularly I think when it comes to women. We were talking earlier about the messaging that's sent. I mean, if you look at the Old Testament, it's full of terrible things about women and, even things to do with menstruation and being unclean. And it's always talked about in a negative light. And if you're born in JW, you're hearing that messaging from when you're a little girl that, things are unclean and dirty and you have to atone for your sins and things like that. So I think that it's just a very overall negative topic that's talked about, and it's really just something that's there for when you're married, and that's it. And prior to that, you shouldn't be dabbling in it in any
And
way,
even
shape, or form.
like I remember sitting in a talk that a brother gave, and it was so awkward. It was all about sex, and at one point, he did mention you're not allowed to have sex on your period, like, and we're all mortified at that point. Like me and my friends I was sitting with, we were all like, "What the heck?"
Yeah,
And for myself, I suffer from endometriosis, so I'm thinking, "Oh gosh, like even if I get married, I'm never going to have sex." Like what the
yeah.
hell?
And not only
So,
that, when it comes to that specific topic in the Old Testament, if that was done willingly, they were to be put to death.
mm,
So that's the sort of messaging that you're hearing, which is terrible. And it, like, it makes no allowances. Like, you're sitting there thinking, I've got endometriosis, and, rationalizing those comments. That, yeah, it's just very, very negative, and the impact it has on people is terrible.
and like you're married, it should be something between you and your husband if
Yes.
that comes up, not something that you hear about from a visiting brother on the platform.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
there's always fear behind the sex talk, whenever they bring up the subject or slightly talk about the subject. There's
Mm.
always fear that they push into our head. Like, you
Almost
ought
that,
not
like,
to do
if
it.
you, like, for me personally, it was like, even if I was to get married, like when I was in the religion, I was still too scared to even have sex because it was so like, this is really scary. Like, I don't even, like, I'm gonna get married and probably be like, please don't even come near me, leave me alone.
Don't
Like, you
come near
don't.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just there's no
it,
positive talk about it. That
Yeah.
you just don't. You just think it's just to have babies, and I don't know. It's just weird.
And like the speculation around like people when they're getting married, it's like, oh, they only got married so they could have sex,
Yep.
or oh, they're gonna
Or
go off and have
or
sex for the
like,
first time.
I know it is. It's like, we know what they're doing tonight.
Yeah.
Do you think he knows what to do? Do you think he knows
Yeah.
what role it is?
Yeah. And
Oh
I
my
think
God.
that there's never sort of any adult concepts around it, like to do with pleasure or anything like that. It's just, rendering your due, and it's just the whole, I guess, terminology that they use around sex is very, I guess, Bible specific, and it doesn't prepare you for real life in any way.
Pornea.
Yeah, whatever that means. Say that to somebody who's not a JW, and they're like, "What?
Yeah.
Is that a sex toy?"
that's the only thing I heard from one of the wives of the elders in my congregation when I was about to get married. She told me that give your due, don't hold out your due, something like that, just an obligation.
Mm.
But what about telling me how should I enjoy it, because it's gonna be a great part of my marriage, sex. And
Mm.
all she can say to me is give his due, something
Mm.
like that. It's really not helpful. A
And it's
very
not
tiny.
about you, it's about
Yeah, it's about
pleasuring
him.
him.
Yes. But
Yeah.
what about
Funny that.
my enjoying
I know, and because
sex?
there's so many things you can't do sexually when you're a witness, it makes me wonder how many women have actually had an orgasm that are in the religion. Like,
Hmm.
do they really know what their body can feel and do?
And
But
because masturbation is completely discouraged as
that's
well.
out.
So how would they
Mhm,
know
mhm.
if they're not?
Pretty much all it is missionary. And come on, like, I'm sure the women out there that have, who do it, missionary doesn't, like, it's like it doesn't do anything. So it's kind of like, yeah, these poor sisters in the congregations that are probably really stuck up and grumpy and bitchy because they haven't had a good root yet.
Of course. Yeah, and if we don't know how to please ourselves, how can we tell the other person how to
Yeah.
please
Exactly.
us also? And yeah, it's part of the communication thing. If you know what makes you happy during that time,
Mm,
you can communicate better, and I think there's more fulfillment in the
mm,
process if you know how to communicate your needs to your partner.
yeah.
Um, If we don't do, touch ourselves, how can we know? And we were discouraged to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went back through some of which was really hard, some of the publications, just trawling through, searching for keywords, and where they talk about masturbation, they actually openly admit that the Bible doesn't even talk about it, but then they will pull in scriptures and this is where I think it makes it so negative when you're growing up. Well, they'll pull in scriptures that talk about uncleanness and sin. They're actually not scriptures talking about masturbation, but they sort of assign them to that, and then they'll put them into like a young people ask book or that other horrid pink book or whatever, and then they make out that it's a bad thing. They also associate it with homosexuality. So they talked about, masturbation will make you weak, and then you'll find yourself, in a situation where you'll, engage in homosexual acts. The conclusions they draw are just so idiotic for a start. And
Have you got your pillows ready?
Oh, I'm already sitting on mine.
Yeah.
I've got two.
That's a very recent example that their thinking has got even more crazy about it with the whole Pillowgate. And they're serious videos they're showing to poor young brothers that, and sisters that go into Bethel.
Have you seen the sign language version of it?
I think I have. Yeah. Yes.
Oh no.
Because
it's very visual. Very visual.
It is literally it is like porn for the deaf. It is just bad. And I'm thinking, what the heck? How is this allowed?
Yeah, it's very sad.
It's very
Yeah, it's actually very sad.
And it's kind of crazy because we have the we're not allowed to talk about it with our friends on one hand, but then on the other hand we've got the Learn from the Great Teacher book that tells kids this book is for children about their vulvas and sexual organs. It's so messed up.
Yeah, and I mean, if you found yourself talking with single people about sex, then somebody would probably dob you into their elders, and you'd be then hauled into the back room and asked if you were sexually active. And then if you, I guess, talked about it with married people, then they would think that there's something wrong, or you're going out the bounds of their very confined framework of what sex should be, or even that you should even be talking about. So I think that there's nowhere to go to talk about it freely and openly. And humans are sexual beings, it's a part of life, and I get that some people are more open about it than others, but there's just nowhere to go. When you're a JW, it's basically don't masturbate, you only have sex when you're married, and then when you're married there's a whole set of rules around that are also not in the Bible as well. I don't know if you remember, if you've read Crisis of Conscience.
No, I've heard about it though.
Oh yeah.
Parts of it.
Do you remember reading about that? I think was a sister or a brother that was writing in, and their partner was in a wheelchair, and they were saying that the only sexual pleasure that they could have was through oral sex, and because the messaging had been not through the publications not to have that, they were writing to the governing body begging for permission to engage in oral sex. It's just so messed up. When I read that,
how degrading is that? That is just so sad.
That the governing body has to decide for what's going to happen inside the bedroom.
Yes. They were trying to get an answer because they were desperate to have intimacy, but due to circumstances, that was probably one of the best ways for them to be intimate. And it just shows you the reliance of some witnesses to get an answer on the most intimate aspects of their life. They feel that they need to go to an elder or the governing body in this case. So, I mean, thank goodness, Ray Franz wrote that particular story in a very negative light, and he actually found it quite heartbreaking. So it's good to know one governing.
Those Jehovah's Witnesses were suffering, that's why, because they feel guilty that they cannot I mean,
No.
they want to do this with their partner, but they feel guilty that they
Oh
might be
no,
committing something sinful in the eyes of Jehovah.
Yeah.
which is
So,
crazy because they're with their partner, their husband, or their wife, or their whatever, and that's like the one person that you should be able to be your complete and utter true self with. I mean, you've been given each other's bodies. Is kind of like, well, we've
Mm.
once you're married, you've become one. But it's weird that there's still those rules that take over even your own marriage. Like,
Yeah.
geez,
mhm.
the bedroom should be completely off limits to any other person except
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
partner.
They want to inhibit any kind of expression of, joy or pleasure. They want to write the framework around it, which is really disgusting. Like you're saying, Kate, you get married. Unfortunately, as you're getting married and you're hearing the wedding talk, they talk about, that threesome of the 3 chord thing, and that's even
Mm.
weirdo to start with
Yeah.
at the beginning of your marriage. There's 3
Yeah.
of you in the marriage, and then they, when it comes to anything to do with sex, they also want to dictate sort of rhetoric around that in all the publications, and people take that on and take it to heart and take it seriously. And
Mm.
then there's even between, I think, um, between couples, then that inhibits your ability to talk to each other freely
Mhm.
as
Yes.
Yeah.
because you don't
That's
know what.
totally that totally messed up my head. That three
Yeah.
chord knot.
Oh,
Because Jehovah is part of the marriage, and whenever we do sexual acts, he's there watching. So I
What?
cannot fully express what I should be expressing during that time. I feel
Yeah.
guilty that you're enjoying too much. That's bad. So it's in my head because I truly believe
mm.
Jehovah was real, or the angels and the demons. They're all watching, and it really screwed my head.
I've locked my
Yeah.
husband out, so I have to let him in. He's knocking on the door. I'll be back.
Okay, okay.
What a time to do that.
Oh, she's left him in the kinky room and he's knocking to get out.
Oh, have
I
you
know
heard
that,
that
like,
term?
what
Oh,
what you
have
were
you heard?
saying, Stella,
Have you
just
heard
about
that
people.
term?
Oh,
I mean, the term self rape with regards to masturbation.
the
Have
what?
you heard
I
that?
heard it as self abuse.
Yes.
Oh,
Self
yeah, I've
abuse.
heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well,
But I
with
was
the Mormons,
always
they call it self rape. You're
I was
raping
always
yourself.
afraid that the
Self rape.
demons were watching.
Mm.
Like, it's messed up.
Yeah, and then, again, that's that negative messaging that
Yeah.
self abuse or self rape. I've not heard that. That's even more disgusting.
It is.
Masturbation is part of growing up and exploring your body and understanding who you are and what you like, and they make something that's a normal bodily function something really disgusting and dirty, and that really, I think it affects your psyche when you're exposed to that from a very young age. To
Hmm.
undo that is very hard, and to
Mm.
be more free with that, all things to do with that subject, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and I think it's also one of the most um, heartbreaking and disgusting things too is when they talk about homosexuality, and you know that never ever sat well with me.
Mm.
But I think, like, somebody that felt they were gay, somebody young sitting in the meetings hearing the terrible rhetoric that would come from the platform, that just must have been so hard to sit through that or process that or think that about yourself, and then the
Mm.
negativity that they then assign to feeling that way. um, it also makes it very confusing for people.
Yeah, like I
Mhm.
remember when I was growing up in the religion, being a young child, and you're taught about homosexuality and how sinful and bad it is. And
Mm.
like I feel guilty now as an adult, like remembering how I saw homosexuals when I was younger,
Mm.
because it was really like ingrained in you that they were almost like they were literally with Satan almost. And everything they did was disgusting, and they were going to die at Armageddon. Um,
And so, like, when I found out that there was someone that was homosexual in the congregation, but obviously wasn't acting, so, you know, they were fine, it was kind of like, oh my goodness, like, don't even make eye contact with that person because they're secretly gay. And now that I'm out and I've got friends of, you know, all sexualities, and I mean, since I've left, I've experienced different things. It's kind of like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I was so naive back then and allowed myself to be taught that these people are sick when they're just everyday, normal humans like me. Yeah, they really, they're really teaching hatred, and I absolutely hate that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and they're really doubling down, I think, now on homosexuality with their high definition videos and even the Caleb and Sophia videos. There's that one where, you know, this again is terrible. You're having little children being told that, you know, they should stand up and say something about topics like this, you know, to another schoolmate who has two mums or two dads, and tell them that one of their parents is like a duffel bag that can be left at a gate and the other person just moves on. Like, it's just they just have no boundaries and
Even
no
like
care.
the outcome of her, like if Sophia, you know, told her classmate this, and her classmate went home and said, oh hey, so mum, this is wrong, God hates you. Like, that is so messed up. Like, meddling in someone else's marriage as a child.
Yeah,
because
teaching children
Jehovah
to be
wants you
like
to?
that to other children is just awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's mean.
Yeah.
It's bullying.
None of their business, you know.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen when the school teacher then calls up the Jehovah's Witness parents and goes, so I need you to come in because little Lucy, well, she made like little Angela cry because she's saying that both her parents, you know, God hates them, they're sinning, and they're going to die at Armageddon unless they turn around and come to meetings with you. Like, how is a Jehovah's Witness parent going to answer that?
They will be like, oh no, we're being persecuted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're Satan's friend.
Mhm.
That other horrible video.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just another, I guess, it's a multi-pronged attack that they have on children to get them to be so intolerant. Like, they're getting Caleb and Sophia videos. They're getting the Old Testament read to them, you know, a couple of times a week with, you know, disgusting passages about killing people. You know, their mum and dad are explaining that when they see pictures of their friends' two mums, that's wrong. And, you know, even though they think it's right, Jehovah thinks it's wrong, and that they should probably start preaching to the little person so they can be saved. It's like there's zero boundaries and zero respect. Yet on the other hand, they're the first to cry foul and persecution and don't say this about us and that about us, like it's terrible, but they never ever extend that same courtesy to anybody else. It's all very one-sided.
It's so horrible because they start it right after, you know, childbirth. You know, a child they bring to the kingdom hall and they start putting this intolerance into their heads until they grow up. Like all through my life until I was 42, that's what I was thinking, like dirty sex and dirty people because they're homosexuals. So it will, you know, the end result with all these people will ruin their whole lives because of such thinking.
Yeah.
That has been put into our heads.
Sort of saying, like, in a discussion with some friends when we did talk about it, you know, homosexuality and things, I was like, why does it matter to me? Like, am I knocking on doors being like, hey, what are you doing? No, I'm just like, here you go, here's a magazine. Like, why are we supposed to care what someone else is doing? As long as, like, we're obeying Jehovah, why would I care what someone else is doing in their bedroom? And like my friends were like, you're supposed to hate what Jehovah hates. And I was like, I don't what? Are we not a loving, united people?
Well,
like,
then why did he give us these feelings then if we're not allowed to
exactly
feel them. Like,
Enjoy
it's kind of
them.
like
Mhm.
if we were literally only allowed to like men and we were only allowed to like women, wouldn't that be like in our brains not
Mhm.
to look at
Oh,
the same sex?
sorry.
Yes,
This
Michelle,
just
the
reminded
sister in
me.
the back.
My comment's going to be a little wild, so hopefully they
Go
don't
for
turn
it,
the mic off.
We might have to mute you, Michelle.
So I remember when I was first like waking up and coming across data facts and looking at all of the old literature and stuff, and how they literally taught that maybe in the new system women would turn into
Yes.
brothers,
Yes.
let alone the fact that there
Now,
was also the other
I read
teaching
that
that
too.
black people would turn white. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
we were ideally supposed to be, according to the Jehovah's Witness religion initially, white brothers living in unity together in paradise earth. And I was like, no, oh God, no, please.
Missing out on so much in that utopia.
Yeah. And then so
Seriously.
what would they expect would happen amongst like all these
Yeah.
white men living in paradise conditions on earth?
Yeah.
Like,
What happens in Bethel, maybe?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Well, how are
think
they gonna
that-
have sex in the new system of things if they're all male?
No, I think that teaching comes at a point in time
And a
where
grapefruit.
there's too many people on
American
the earth.
apple pie.
Yeah, it's a way of controlling the population, because they say that, the earth will obviously get populated to a limit, and then how are they going to stop that? And then there's
Control.
this crazy teaching that's introduced that, hey, I know, we all turn into white brothers.
Because we're
And
going
on top of that, the whole like being a woman or being a person of color is not perfection. Like imagine growing up with that. Like that's just so
and yet without
demeaning.
a woman, Jesus wasn't born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she
kinda
was a
like-
person of color, despite
She was
what
a
the My
virgin,
Book of
though.
Bible stories tells us.
I think she was probably actually a lesbian. She was probably pleased that like Joseph didn't go near her.
So yeah.
That is just so weird, you know. And especially Mary being a young child, young bride, who doesn't know anything about
Yeah.
sex.
Yeah. Ends up
Also, the
pregnant.
Bible was written by men, so I'm
Yes.
thinking, is it really? There's the whole thing that people are saying that Mary made everything up and she had an affair, and they're just like, oh no, it was God. And I'm like, do you really think it was Mary though that made that up? Do
Yeah.
you think that possibly it might have been Joseph?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just looking at some of the comments that are coming in, and thank you to everyone that's joined. I think, as Unica was saying about masturbation, after I left many years, I still have guilt feelings towards it. And I think that, that goes to how deep the indoctrination is, and the guilt that is very hard to shake, even maybe years after you've left. I don't know if you've got any comment on that.
Oh my
One
goodness!
of
I
the
remember.
first. Oh, you go.
Sorry. No, you go.
No, you.
I remember so I've got two things. I remember the first time I touched myself, and I felt very dirty and naughty, and like, oh my God, Jehovah's seen me. The 144,000 have seen me. Like, you just think that they're all up there, and they're like literally looking at you, touching yourself, and judging you. But then, like, my other thing is like the first time I went into like a sex toy shop was like, I was so scared and nervous, and I felt like I should be disfellowshipped straight away, because I don't think I was disfellowshipped at that time. So, but I still, yeah. And it was like,
Self-fellowshipping.
pretty much, because it was so weird, and there was like, these DVDs, and I'm just like, I want to look, but I don't want to look because it's like so disgusting. But I'm very curious, and just like all the different things that you can buy for the bedroom. And I mean, I was in awe, but also like, this is so bad. Nobody should be playing with these things. It should only be your husband or wife that you play with. Like, and so it took quite a while for me to be like, okay, it's totally cool. I can have a laugh with my girlfriends about vibrators and, all sorts of things. But it took a very, very long time. Because, I still thought that there was someone upstairs completely judging me for. And so, I mean, sometimes I still feel it a little bit, like, you know, it's just, you still just go, oh, yeah, it's just, it's weird sometimes still.
Well,
Like,
how
I
old
don't
are
think,
you ladies when you start touching yourself? When you figure it out, you can do that.
I think I was about 20. It was the first time I got disfellowshipped. And that happened because I had kind of got sexually active, but not really. And it wasn't a healthy way to lose my virginity, really, because I was in a bad place with my parents. I was still living at home. I had really bad, typical daddy issues. You know, like me and my dad did not get on at all. And so it was my then boss at the time, who literally was the same age as my dad.
Oof.
And it was really odd and scary. But at the same time, I was like, I wanted comfort. I wanted to feel something. Um, and I remember, like, you know, when you get sexual, you know, things happen down there, and I didn't know what that was. Like, I literally thought, have I weed myself? Like, why is it weird down there? Because you're not taught any of this stuff. And here I am, 20, and I have no idea what my body's doing. Like, I had to have someone else tell me, like, well, that's normal because it's this and this and this. I'm going, holy crap, like, I am so not ready for anything, because really, really weird.
Did you all get pulled out of the sex ed classes as well? Because I'm pretty sure I did. Like, my parents are like, no, we teach that at home.
I was allowed to do a little bit.
I don't remember.
School, but we had
I
to
don't
get
remember
permission
that.
for them, so we were always pulled out of them. So I don't know if anyone else. So there
We
you
don't
go.
have that in the
Yeah.
Philippines.
Factual information
I
at
don't.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
no,
you
we
know,
had sex ed at school, and Mum
We
thought,
had like
no, it's good
life
to do.
skills or something,
Yeah,
and it was
but
just
like
like a part of it.
but there were like cartoons that we were seeing at primary school for sex ed of like boys in their bed getting wet dreams or getting erection, like, and I remember just thinking, this is like, does it even happen? Or, oh, this is disgusting. Like, this is really, really wrong and really, really worldly right now. Like, I should not be learning this. And then there was, you know, cartoons of the female naked body, and I couldn't even look at it. Like, for a long time, even after, like, even sometimes now, like, I won't have a bath. I don't like baths because I've got such this negative idea of the female form sometimes, that, like, I'm not even allowed to look at myself. So that's still something that comes up quite regularly. Like, because my partner that said, oh, you should go relax in the bath, and I'm just like, nope. It's like, why not? And I'm like, it's okay.
I don't like baths either.
Yeah, I'm just like, no.
I'm like, it's so uncomfortable. First of all, like, just to lie there and do nothing. I'm like, like, can I not lie there and do nothing on my bed? Like, this is why.
It gets really boring. Like, it's sitting in your own dirty water. It's like, oh, okay.
But going back to Stella's question as well, I think I was 16 actually the first time I touched myself.
I'm probably the same.
Yeah. And I think I didn't really know what was happening. I remember passing a note to my friend in school and being like, hey, so a friend of mine was just wondering, like, can you get pregnant from your own, like, juices? She's like, I'm sure she must have known that friend was me. But like,
asking for a friend.
Yeah, always asking for a friend.
And I think I didn't find out what a blowjob was until I was like 19 or 20. And I had thought, I'd heard what it was, but I had thought it was when you blew air into someone else's mouth when you were kissing. And I was like, why would you do that? Doesn't make sense.
But the thing is that when you don't have factual information, it does leave you vulnerable to people that will take advantage of you. So there's power in educating your children about sex. Like, I think bringing up my kids, I did try and educate them beyond the JW a little bit, but because, I mean, there's also sexual predators around, and you just, like, I wanted my children to know exactly what their bodies were, and, you know, whether... You know, if people ask them certain questions, you know, what that meant and how they should react to that. But I think that, you know, the standard JW upbringing and the information that you get, it actually leaves you very misinformed and very vulnerable.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I think
And
as well, like another thing that's very prolific in my experience with Jehovah's Witness brothers is dirty texting. Like that
Yeah.
is a huge thing. Like I cannot tell you. I think I've had over 10 dick pics from active pioneer
What?
Jehovah's
Yeah.
Witnesses throughout my time as a witness.
What a lucky
and
girl.
Was I
I feel
I think you two are so much. You're really young, so it's that there weren't dick pics around when I was. You know.
Neither.
They had to draw it.
like,
No,
you're
they
right.
you had to actually buy a porn magazine and then rip a page out and pass it to your mate, I guess, or something like that. But
I think
I don't know. Only
my
my friends.
first experience with that was like I think I was about 19, and it was also the same guy that later touched me unwanted. But because he basically groomed me in a sense by starting off with being like, oh, hey, have you ever like flirty texted before? And I was like, no, what's that? And basically before you know it, I'm involved in sexting. And I now, through him and actually another one of his friends, started sexting me as well. But I'm thinking, okay, these guys like me. And this becomes a pattern later on. And okay, if I want to get a guy to like me, I'll just, start flirty texting with them.
Yeah.
But it was like never like serious, I was the secret. I was nothing. And all through the sexting, I have no actual sexual experience apart from masturbation. So it's like, how do I even know what to say? What is happening? I don't know. At the moment, it's like, in the moment, it was just a way to get not attention, but just to feel like someone liked me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got to, like, when you're out more into the world and you haven't lost your virginity yet, you're seen as like a trophy to get. Like, so like before I even lost my virginity, like I was going out clubbing and people would find out. Some wouldn't believe that I was a virgin. They thought I was joking and making it up. And then the ones that did believe, okay, yes, she did grow up a witness, so she's completely a virgin, then you knew that they were only ever talking to you or touching you or anything because they wanted to be your first. And so then you are like, I really want to lose my virginity, but also I don't want it to be like that person only wants to be with me because they want to pick someone's flower.
Yeah.
Well, about me, I learned masturbation when I was in my 30s. I think 34. Too late.
It's never too late.
Yeah, I just stay away from my own body all through those years. Even when I was married, I just don't do it. I have my husband to do it for me. But when I separated from him, I still have my needs, and I don't know how to fulfill my needs. That's when I figure out that I can touch myself. So
I bought my first sex toys when I left this year. Well, yeah. So and like thankfully we're in the middle of a pandemic, so I could just order online and not go into a sex shop and be overwhelmed.
Oh man, I felt so guilty the first time I ever used a vibrator. I felt so dirty and gross and like, oh my god, like should I have done that? It was just so weird, and I was in my 30s too. So it's only like recently, and it's like, oh my god. And then I went through a stage where I wouldn't use it because I felt so bad that I had done that to myself. Yeah, it's crazy.
When I was younger, when I was, touching myself as a witness, I would feel so guilty, and I would be crying and praying afterwards, like, please, I'm so sorry, Jehovah. It's the last time. Diet starts on Monday. But
I had a friend go to the elders about her issue with touching herself and watching pornography, and I remember she called me over because she almost had a mental breakdown over it because she felt super guilty. And I went over and I said, oh, what's up? She goes, I've just had to go and have a judicial. And I'm like, why? What the hell have you done? Because she is such a good girl, like
Yeah.
super good. And she goes, I had to tell them that I am addicted to pornography and masturbation. And at first I burst out laughing because I was like, girl, you are the most goody good tissue. Like, how do you even know what that stuff is? Um, and then she's like, yeah, I had to tell the brothers and tell them all about what she does and what she watches. And I was just sitting there going, I said to her, girl, you're not the only one. Secretly,
Mm.
everybody does it. We just don't tell anyone. Like,
Mm.
why would you do that? Why
So
would you tell anyone?
my best friend
Ah,
at the time, for a while, he's gay, and like we were quite comfortable making silly jokes or talking openly either way about anything. And we used to have like an inside joke because I had one of those like jelly bean air freshener things in my car, and like he flicked it one time, and I was like, "Are you flicking the bean?" And like we had this whole thing for a while. But he actually told me that after he visited the States and he was talking with a brother who was in Bethel, that this brother in Bethel told him it's perfectly normal. It's something that everyone does. Like
mm,
everyone masturbates. Like there's no problem. Jehovah doesn't care. And so
mm.
after that, I was like, okay, I feel a little bit less guilty. So
Yeah.
even that, like that is such a double standard.
There are
Yeah.
only two kinds of people on earth: those who masturbate and those who lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair
Mhm.
enough.
And then, like, it's so scary. But then once you start, like, realizing what your body likes and you're more open to things, you can have a really good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just getting that out of your head, isn't it? That's the hard thing that, those years of hearing that it's such a negative thing. And I think, you're talking about that person who felt they had to go and speak to an elder. So what was a young girl, like
Young
20 or
sister.
something?
Yep, she was, because I was 29 at the time and she was about 3 years younger. So
Yeah.
mid to late 20s, getting desperate for marriage.
Yeah.
And obviously she's at that time in her life where her body
Sorry.
is starting to get all those sort of
Yeah.
urges.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, a lovely young sister, and she was in a room with three men talking about how she touches herself.
Like that's so inappropriate. But
Mm.
I guess the
Yeah,
step before that, it's so sad that you would feel that you have to go and speak to a male because you're pleasuring yourself. Like
yeah.
that's how screwed up it is. Like, and I mean, do these men want to hear? Like, I mean, it's just so inappropriate that they have to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, they do though,
Like,
because like in my judicial, when I got
yeah,
disfellowshipped, they hated that I kept saying, I have committed immorality because they
right.
wanted to know what it was, what I've done. And I'd just be
Yes.
like, it doesn't matter. I says, I've committed immorality. That's all I've
Yeah.
done. And you could tell they were poking because they were just wanting to get it off
They
by
were
hearing a bit
poking.
about what you. Oh, I wish. A room with three
Dang.
men.
But yeah, it just like, why do they need to know those details to think
Yeah.
about them later? Like, what is
Yeah.
it about the detail? Like, immorality is immorality. They feel they've got that ability to judge the level of immorality by the
Yeah.
actual specific acts.
Oh,
Whereas,
probably they probably think that like vaginal sex is a deadly sin, but anal isn't. So they want to know all the details. Like
yeah,
you don't know
it's
what goes on in their heads because it's just that stuff that just doesn't need to be brought up, especially in a
yeah,
judicial with a sister
Yeah.
and three brothers.
yeah. I
It's
just
like,
seen
Yeah.
yeah,
a message that the elders probably went home and masturbated thinking about it later. But in the end, they're human too. Like, why do they need to know those sordid
Yeah.
details? Like,
They
that's none
know.
of it. Firstly, they shouldn't have to know it full stop. Like, it's
Yeah.
a
no,
natural thing, but it's
Mm.
just so screwed up that people think that they've got to go and speak to them about
I
it
think
and confess.
the one time that I felt like that, so I was kind of seeing a guy, but we weren't officially dating. But he was Brazilian, so he was very fiery or hot-blooded, or I don't know what the term
Passionate.
is, but wanted
Yeah.
wanted to touch a lot. And I just remember because at that time I had just started doing the cart witnessing, and I was freaking out that if someone found out, I would be taken off the carts, and like that was my favorite form of service because I hated door knocking.
Yeah.
And
That's
so I
great
went to the
trade
elders
stuff.
about that, and they were like, where did he touch you? What did you do? Like, what happened? And then, like, just to sit there and be like, okay, well, he touched my boobs. Okay, was it over the shirt, under the shirt, over the bra, under the bra? And it's like,
Wow.
both, all,
All of the above.
but not all the way. So it was just a little bit of, what was it, heavy petting was the term that they would use.
But it's funny.
And it's
It's
like, why
funny
do they need
'cause-
to know that? Like, if I've just come to you and said, like, okay, well, we've touched each other, inappropriately, and I want to converse. Like, why do you need to know exactly? You
Yeah.
don't.
But they're very picky on when they want to know those details, because in my last judicial, they wanted to know, yes, all the nitty gritty of me being naughty with worldly men. But when I told them that the reason I've gone off the rails and I absolutely hate religion and don't want to ever come back to this kingdom home was because I was kind of secretly dating an elder, but we couldn't be completely open because we were both not technically divorced. We were both almost divorced. So we kept it quiet. And so he was, what am I, 29? I was 29, and I think he was 41. So he was a bit older. And he would come over to my house a lot. We'd make out. He even one night got very, very frisky and turned on, and he ripped off my clothes, and I was like, okay, this is a bit wrong, but hey, if you're keen, I'm keen. When I told the elders that, I said that they didn't want to know anymore. That's when all the questions of knowing more information completely stopped, and they were like, there's some serious accusations. And so then I got disfellowship that night, and he is still serving in the congregation. So I was like, yes, they wanted to know everything about worldly men, but when it came to, hey, the guys in your congregation are actually worse, they don't want to know about it.
Well, I mean, in the elders book, they've got an out, haven't they? If an elder's done something, yet it was a few years ago, and it seems as though he has the spirit of the congregation behind him, then they will let that slip. But imagine if it was a woman who went in and went, look, hey, I did do something a few years ago, but I'm a pioneer. Everyone loves me in the congregation. I answer. I do everything. I cook for people. They'd be like, no, you need to tell us more. Like it's very selectively biased in favour of men. The other thing I was reading a couple of different quotes from Awakes where they talk about, I think when they talk about rape, it's in a very negative light towards women where somehow they've asked for it or, they've led someone to believe that, something was going to happen. So then the rape was technically their fault. So again, it's just that negative messaging. So that I think that
if you don't scream.
Yeah, exactly. If a sister finds herself in a situation where, a brother's come on very strongly to her, like it's the messaging that they've received over the years is that it's your fault. Like it's always, that Jezebel sort of, enticing the poor man who just can't control his dick or something.
With that guy from earlier who started me with the flirting, texting and stuff, I ended up going to my elders about that at the time as well, but it was because I felt guilty because we had been sexting, but he touched me when I was sleeping in his sister's bedroom. And it was in a city that I wasn't from. And their response, the elders were like, well, why didn't you run away? Like Joseph. Is it Joseph?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why didn't you run away? You should have fled instead of freezing. And I was like now I get super pissed off about that because there are different trauma responses, and one of them is to freeze, and that's exactly what I did.
And it also shows up.
What the hell? Like, how could you say that to someone? I'm 19. Like, I mean, I was a young girl, and when you're a witness girl, you're even more naive generally than other girls as well. And it's just, why would you say that to someone?
Yeah, it's disgusting, and it
Mhm.
shows how uneducated they are. They
Mm.
really have no place in dealing with anything like that, because they're just to, insinuate that it was your fault, and to not even question that he has come into a room, not his own room, touched
Mhm.
someone who's sleeping. Like, there's quite a few infringements there along the way. And then to think that you should be able to wake up and run away. Like, I mean,
Like, where were you
it's
going to run to?
really,
Like,
Exactly. Like,
seriously?
yeah, it was,
yeah,
and it was in a city that, like, I mean, an area of, I mean, it was a city where I wasn't from. So we were
Yeah.
visiting. It was about 3 hour drive from Auckland.
Yeah.
Relatively dangerous to be in at night.
Yeah.
Where would I go? And this was pre-smartphone cell phones. So I wouldn't have had GPS. I didn't take my car down there. Where would I go? Where would I go? I would have got
Yeah.
into a way worse situation.
yeah,
Well, it's like the brothers told me I had issues with men. I'm too obsessed with men, and that's why this elder did what he did. It's why I have had sexual relations with a worldly person. I have issues with men. I must be a sex addict. I'm like, no, no,
Mm.
I'm not. Like, but they want to paint you like you're the problem.
Mm.
None of the men are the problems. You're too sexual. You're playing on the men and you're tempting them.
Well, Kate, were you
Mhm.
wearing a singlet like that showing your shoulders? Because,
Stop
you know,
it.
just shoulders, how dare you?
Mhm. My sister had an experience like what happened to Michelle.
mm,
Like when you were touched, you did not do anything, you just froze. But my
Mm.
sister, on the other hand, she screamed and she was pointing fingers, and she knew who touched her at the time because my brothers, um, when we were younger, he used to bring J-Dub's brothers into the house and they have drinking parties, alcohol drinking, and they all pass out and just couldn't go back home, so they stay overnight, because
Mhm.
yeah. So one of them, I think at the time there were, if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5 of the brothers who stayed overnight because they're too drunk to go home. And me and my sister, I was sleeping on top of the bunk bed, and my sister at the bottom. And she just screamed, and I said, "What is happening?" And she said somebody touched her, and
Hmm.
all she was able to grab was the wristwatch of the brother who touched her. So there were two brothers who were wearing wristwatches that are big,
Mm.
and either one of them is the one who touched her, but they were denying what
Yeah.
happened.
mm,
My sister, she spoke, she screamed, but the elders did not side with her, but sided with the brothers because
Hmm.
the brothers were their sons.
Also,
So my
in my experience, it was the two witness rule
mhm,
that
Hmm.
came into play.
wow.
It
Yeah.
was, and he denied it, so obviously it never happened. And next time if something like that happens, which supposedly didn't happen, I should run.
Yeah.
mm. So you don't really know where to put yourself in this situation. Either you
No,
scream, it's your fault. If you don't
yeah.
scream, it's your fault. So
Yeah.
If you're lying in
what
bed
else?
asleep, it's your fault.
What else for a young woman
Yeah.
could
Mm.
do?
I guess the answer is to just turn into a male. Wake up when you cook them, like, and then everything will be fine. And I
Yeah.
think that, just here, that's, a couple of stories that are very similar. There's like this pattern of sense of entitlement and knowing that they might get away with it.
Hmm.
And then there's the messaging to women that somehow they could have stopped it. And we've got the two
Mhm.
examples of not screaming, and then someone screaming with exactly the same outcome, because it's just, you know, idiotic advice that they're giving out about it.
Yeah,
Mm.
Mm.
But these men seem to always get a free pass.
Hmm.
Um,
but
Yeah.
they're not siding with the victims here. Just
no,
the reputation of the brothers is what's more
And
important
because
for
I
them.
think as well, it's the whole boys club thing that if they were to hold another brother accountable, then they would have to hold themselves accountable to things that they may have done in the past, and that's just
Yeah.
something that they wouldn't dare think about.
No.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway.
I get that same experience, but in a
Yeah.
different scenario when my husband put me in a they say it's just a meeting, an inquiry, not a judicial hearing, but for me it's like a judicial hearing because there were three elders
Mm.
and then my husband and then me. um I was my husband was denying the reasons because he said he didn't commit any mistakes with the marriage, but I was saying that he's alcoholic and he cannot provide for the family. And the elders sitting in the circle cannot say, I mean, they're unable to say anything because they were the ones who were with my husband, his drinking buddies. So they're protecting him and protecting themselves, but forcing me to admit to something like my husband was saying, just admit to this and then I will forgive you, like just tell me you commit adultery and I will forgive you. But what about his mistakes? What about
Mm.
what he didn't do? What about what he was doing? But the brothers are they just put their blinders on because they were his drinking buddies, so
Mm.
they cover up for him.
Yeah.
They will not acknowledge it. It's the same thing with, yeah, it's sex things, you know. Oh, we have a
Um,
question.
how do you find it now that you are no longer JWs? I think
Which,
yeah, you go, Michelle.
You go. You started speaking.
I was just going to say, I think that, for a long time, I didn't really take what they said about sexuality. Not that I didn't take it seriously, but in my heart, whenever they talked about anything to do with it, particularly around gay people, it made me sick. It literally made me sick to think that they had so much hatred for it. And I guess for me, I just think that people are, everyone is a sexual being. They have a side to them that, they want to explore. And I just didn't understand what the big deal was about it. But I guess being out, yeah, it's being free of that rubbish and hearing it consistently. I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but I think you can buy books, you can go to a sex shop, you can watch videos, and I mean that guilt, I guess that's hard to shake that off, I guess. But
mhm.
I think the more that if you want to explore something, it's a chance to do that. It is a normal part of life, and particularly masturbation is just a normal thing.
Yeah.
They
Natural.
yeah, they make very normal things obscene when they're not, and I guess
Mm.
it's trying to understand that where they're coming from is actually not a factual place. It's really just rubbish, and it's a way of particularly
Hmm.
controlling women. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
they tell us how to dress, they tell us how to act in the bedroom. It's just men trying to control women. So I guess for me, it's just exploring things and reading about things, learning about things. There's a lot to explore, and trying not to feel bad about it.
And I think too, if there's any, I mean, I can't really say for the men because I don't know what it's like to be a guy wanting to get their end
Wait
way.
until the new system.
Wait till the new system, and I'll be just like, whoa. Um, but I think it's a lot more safer for women to realize that it's okay to masturbate, look at porn, get a toy if you need to. like,
Mm.
it's more better and safer for you to be doing that to get to know your body and what you like than to go out and do it with someone else. I think if you're leaving the religion and you're still a virgin, definitely don't just be like, okay, oh my God, I'm a virgin and I'm this age. I need to go out now and lose my flower as quick as possible. They just need to take it slowly, get to know your body, do a bit
Mhm.
of research, and okay, some of it is even worldly people are like, well, that's too much. But just have a wee look at the soft stuff, and just try and figure out hey, would I be into that? Just kind of gauge what you're comfortable with, and yeah, because the first time is always scary, definitely. But I guess if you find someone really nice too, um, and you can tell that they're respectful, you can sort of just be like, hey, this is the life I've had. I'm super, super nervous. I don't want to get hurt or anything, then yeah, just as long as you're really, really honest with yourself and the person, it shouldn't be too bad. It should be a good experience.
Mhm.
If that all made sense.
It does. It's really helpful.
Yeah.
Mhm. I think you answered the question in the screen. What's some helpful advice you would?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I
Get
think
to know
as well,
yourself.
like, just you've got to undo the sort of misogyny and indoctrination as well.
Yeah.
And think that like you are a woman, you're a whole human.
Yeah.
You're not an object for men, and men should not be viewing women as objects as well. So I think
Yeah.
that's a big piece of advice that I hope might help someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we're allowed to do things now. For so long we're not allowed to, and now we're allowed to like explore and
Mm.
do it in a way that's like, you know, good for you and good for other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time for us to enjoy ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What, like right
I
now,
think
Stella?
no,
And
not right now. Maybe
sometimes
later.
the toys are a lot better than the real thing, just to say.
Somebody send me a toy, please.
Well,
Be
I'm
careful
all
what you
for
wish
now.
for, Stella. And I think too
Well, for
that
me,
like, so I was just going to say, I
uh,
think in the religion, like if you want to look good or something like that, they try to tell you that that's a bad thing because you're arousing bad feelings in other people. When like however you want to dress or look is up to you, and you should be doing it for
Exactly.
you. And you know, getting rid of this worry that you're offending other people by, you know, not having a skirt that goes below your knee or something. And do you know what I mean? Go wear a pantsuit. And I was talking with a friend today. You know, they make us all wear dresses because they don't want us in some kind of a, you know, pants and, you know, looking like them. It scares them. They
Yeah.
want women in dresses and compliant. But, you know, do you. It's how other people
Like, do
feel is
you?
their
Do
problem.
you?
Do you
Real
and do you.
good. Real good.
do you? I like that term.
Yeah, go get into the mirror,
Yeah.
put on some nice tight jeans, look at your bum, and go, you know what? I'm doing you tonight.
I agree I agree with that. Sexuality can be empowering, especially for women. But as you know, brought up in a high control religion, they make you hide it, and you know, it's only for certain situations. But yeah, it is empowering. Own it and not be
Definitely.
ashamed of it.
Mhm.
That's a
like,
really
yeah.
cool comment. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Mhm.
And I think, like, hopefully, you know, we might be able to discuss this topic again as well. If anyone else has more questions or comments, like, let us know because we will check them.
Because it's such a huge subject that, you know, other people and everyone's sexuality is so different.
And we're
that,
missing Naomi and Sherry today.
Yes.
I think this one is for Katie. Oh, Kerry.
Has anyone had their experience of leaving with their Jado, and how was the change in their sex life, if there was one? Look, I guess it's only ever it was always positive, but I think it's much more positive because I'm not thinking about any rules, or I guess sometimes I didn't think about rules, but like I don't. It's like getting that person out of your bedroom that shouldn't be there. Like it's that thing in the back of your mind because it's none of their business. So it allows that real intimacy and openness with I guess being free with that, without just thinking in the back of your mind, oh, you know, maybe this is a conscience matter. You know what I mean? Like it just shouldn't be like that. So I guess it just frees you up to even have that stronger intimacy. So
I was just gonna say, it must almost bring you closer to your partner if
absolutely,
you've been married to someone
yeah,
in the religion and then left, and then realizing that okay, now you can actually really experience each other. It must be quite a bonding experience because yeah, you're right. You don't think there's someone else watching. It's literally just you and
yeah,
whoever it is, him or her, with you in that moment. And
yeah.
it must be just so much more powerful for a couple that can be like, let's just be ourselves and enjoy this now.
and even to joke about it, like, you know,
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
it's funny just to joke about it now all the time
Yeah.
and things like that. And I think all all round for me, I've been very lucky, and I understand that I've been lucky to be able to leave and still have my partner. But I think that our relationship has, we always had a good relationship, and I was lucky again in that respect. But it has just gotten better and better.
Yeah.
It's just this openness and freeness that you have, where you just don't always think about someone watching you,
Mhm.
or
Mm-hmm.
checking what you're saying or doing. Like, it's just a
Mm.
freeness that you should have as a couple, because that's what brings you together. Having this person, God, whatever in the middle is what I think pulls you apart. And I think that is the
Mhm.
whole thing with the JW. They never want you to have close relationships. There's always,
Mm.
you know, Jehovah in the middle or something. It's,
Yeah. Whereas you
yeah,
should be able
Mm-hmm.
to say to your partner, hey, I'm
yeah,
kind of interested in this, or what do you think
exactly.
if we did this tonight?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
without
um,
fear of them,
without
you know.
fearing of
Hang
them going,
on.
well, I'm going to hang on, I've just got to ring up brother
Yeah,
Just gonna
John and just
check.
be like, so my wife, she's asked for this.
What does JW Library say?
Oh
word
my
not
goodness.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
I guess,
it's
yeah.
definitely freeing. And yeah, I again, I've been very lucky in my relationship, so I don't, you know, I feel very sorry for people where it doesn't work out for them. So
Mm,
I do
Mm-hmm.
understand
Mm.
how lucky I've been.
yeah.
Yeah, but only positive, absolutely. Yeah,
Well, even for us single ladies, Michelle and me. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess like I still like, so I took the no sex before marriage kind of seriously. And obviously I didn't get married. So here we are on the other side. I'm 36 and inexperienced in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm nervous when this comes up. And obviously at the moment I'm doing pretty much what Kate said and exploring my own body.
Yeah.
And like that's good for now, but like, you know, I kind of can't wait to almost get out there and do things and experience things, not in a way to get it over with. So I think that that's a big thing that you can struggle with, is like, just like I just want to get this over with. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, there's lots of online forums. I've actually found a group of people via TikTok, and now there's a Facebook group for quite a few other people that are in similar experience and have similar life experiences in terms of not having
mm,
experienced sex just yet. And so it's really wild because they haven't come from like a cult background, and there are other people out there, like normal people, that it just hasn't happened yet, and it's interesting. So just doing
Mm-hmm.
lots of research wherever you can, just googling, looking things
and when you're
up.
ready, you'll know that it's time
Yeah,
as well.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's like no pressure. Like I'm pretty cool. Whatever
Yeah.
happens, happens.
Mm-hmm. I think also talking to somebody who is not a Jada with regards to sexual things, it really helps, you know. Like in my
Yeah.
case, I have a friend who I can talk freely about these things without judgment. Like I know little about these things, but yeah, if you have a good friend that you can talk without inhibitions, like
Yeah.
they're not gonna judge you, that's really helpful because coming out as a Jada, I mean, yeah, as an ex Jada now, we really are. There's so much for us to learn, especially with our own body. So, like what
Mm,
Kate was saying earlier, get to know ourselves. That helps a lot also. And yeah, talk with somebody. And if you cannot explore with somebody what you want to explore, you can explore with yourself.
there are lots of amazing things you can buy. Oh my
Mm.
god, it'd be so cool if we could somehow have like an online sex toy party. Now they are so much
Yes.
fun. You got like lovely oils, massage creams, different lubricants. They come in multiple flavors. I mean, I don't know why they'd want to be flavored or anything. Like, that's a bit weird.
Do you know what? It's actually funny. I used to follow the curly girl method, and a part of keeping your curls frizz free while using a product that is sulfate and silicone free, you need to use lubricant.
There you go.
And so there was me. I was like, okay, I need to try this because it looks amazing on all the girls that I've seen. Like me fully J-Dub going down like the sex toy, not sex toy, the like condoms and lubricant section of the supermarket, and I'm like, please, no one see me.
I swear it's
on
on my
my
hair.
I swear.
And it does. It works amazingly. And
Next you'll be
thankfully, I
saying that
still have
condoms
that.
were used as gloves to clean the toilet.
Sure, Michelle.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
that was fun. Funny.
There's still so much for us to learn about sex.
And here.
That's the great thing about being out, isn't it? There's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And,
And now we can explore this taboo subject. It's no longer taboo for us, where it was before. We're not allowed to
Yeah.
talk about it. Now we have that freedom to learn, especially with regards to ourselves. And it's very freeing, empowering,
Mhm.
getting to know ourselves that way, that intimately.
And I think,
Yeah.
It really
as the
helps a lot.
great Moira Rose said on Schitt's Creek, you should take nudes now because you'll never look as good as you do now.
Yeah.
So take nudes
that's such
in
a
your
good
youth.
show. I love that show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
But actually, I was like, I want to live in Schitt's Creek as opposed to Paradise. Like when I was a
Yeah,
J-Dub,
absolutely.
I was like, this is more paradisaic than the robot version that we are taught.
Yeah,
I
because
wanna
there was a
live
whole
somewhere where
heap,
it's nice.
a whole heap of broken people that just cared about each other, and just the JW life is just so. There's no variety in anything. There's no surprises. It's all the same, and I think that being exposed to different people of different sexual orientations, all that's the great thing about being out and free and just being open to learn and understand just how other people live. It's instead of judging them constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from that
And the
show,
best
like I
advice.
also picked up that line, like I'm into the wine and not the label. And I totally resonate with that, I love it.
And the best
Oh,
advice
sorry,
I
Stella,
got
you go.
from somebody is from a homosexual guy about pleasing the other person. I learned a lot from a gay man who told me so much about how to do it properly with a guy. So it helps a lot. I never got to talk about it with any girlfriends, but with a gay guy, I get a lot of information, helpful information.
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
great that you're able to be free and just talk about that. And
Yeah.
that's the great
Exactly.
thing
At
about
the end
it.
of the day, we're all,
Yeah.
everyone's doing it, and we all pretty much do it the same way. So it's kind of like, okay, so how do you do it? Oh, that's a really good tip. And there you go away. You're just like,
Yeah.
note that one down. 'Cause it's life. I mean,
Yeah.
goodness me. Like I said before, like if we weren't given these feelings, then, what's the point in letting them waste?
Exactly.
Yep. Mhm. I see a question in YouTube for Michelle.
Oh.
Yeah, it says, Michelle, what congregations in Auckland did you attend?
Oh.
Just a personal question.
Why? I've been
She
literally
said
all over.
she said I was a JDub around 1995, 96, started studying in 93, left in 97, 98. She's
So
just
when I
curious.
was around that age, I think we were in Papatoe congregation. So if that helps. But I was the daughter of a study. So I wasn't like, a baptized witness. I think I would have been 10 in 95 and like 12 in 97. So yeah.
Oh, I already had my firstborn in 97.
I learned how to blow bubbles and chewing gum when I was 7 years old. If that helps. I
How
don't
old
know.
were you in 97? 12, did you say?
Yes. So I was
You
born in
can't be that
1985.
old.
Oh, don't say that.
I'm not going to tell you how old I was in
Yeah.
1970. Just said you can't be that old.
I know. I was like, don't say that. That's me.
Wow, I thought you'd be like my age, and I'm thinking 97. I'm sure I was only 8. Must have been
What year were you born?
89.
So I'm 85. I'm only 4 years older than you.
Oh
Calm
my
down.
god.
That's like a lifetime ago.
I was baptized in 88. You were
Oh
born
my
in
God.
89. Oh my god. I feel ancient now.
Age isn't real. Age isn't
Yeah.
real.
Age is not real.
Okay.
You're what is it? You're as young as the woman you feel. Touch. I can't remember. I know there was something dodgy. I can't remember what it was now. You're the woman, or maybe it's what men say. You're
Yeah,
as
it's
young
what
as
men
the
say.
woman you touch. True.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
I knew I was. Yeah.
it's not really a great quote.
I'm still 20 in my head. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm 25.
perpetually 25.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I miss those days.
Anyway.
Anyway,
25.
uh-huh. It's about time to wrap up this live stream. Do you want anything else to say, girls? You want to add more to the conversation?
I think pretty much just like, hopefully we can do this again. Send us comments, questions, let us know how we can help. We're here.
Yeah, I guess it's a topic you can talk about, but then like there's some stuff that you obviously don't bring up because everyone's got different questions, and then it'll be like, oh yeah, okay, that. So it's kind of like, yeah, if after this people are like, oh, okay, they didn't touch on this, or I want to know more about that.
Okay.
It'd definitely be really cool to probably just bring it back and explain those ones to people if they've got any. Because I'm guessing there's quite a lot of people out there that maybe are sort of in the same situation where they haven't done anything yet and they may be wanting to, or they're nervous. So come talk to the old skankaroony Kate.
All right, I'll call you
How
later.
about you, Carrie?
No. I think like everyone has level, I guess, different degrees of I guess shame and guilt when they leave. And I think like what you were saying, Michelle, you're just taking your time and just learning about yourself. I guess I left with a partner. But yeah, I guess learning about it, that's something we weren't even allowed to do. You were only allowed to read the publications. There's so much you can learn, buy a few books if you want to. I get it's just nice not feeling like you have to judge anybody. And making a bit of a joke about it. Like we are all just sexual human beings, and it's fun to just joke about it every now and then and not be so serious about it. But I think it definitely takes time to get to that point. But nobody has a right to be in your bedroom. Like, do what you want. And I think it does just take time.
Also,
it's been great to
talk about it.
We're not
totally no sex shaming.
No sex shaming, no slut shaming, none of that.
That's the thing. Like, you can be a lesbian, you can be gay, you can be bi, you can be. I think there's like an asexual. I mean, so that's like a whole nother topic for people that are that. So it's like just embrace who you are, because we've been for so long not able to express ourselves.
I think even actually just quickly while you touched on that, so for me, I identify as demisexual, which falls under the asexual category. Like, you need to know someone before you want to do things with them sexually, but also as pan-romantic, which is basically that I would fall in love with anyone. That would be cool. I don't care what gender they are, whatever. But basically, even when I discovered the term for demisexuality, I couldn't even talk to my friends about that at the time. And so there's so much that you can find out. You can look at research.
Well, I'm a great believer in also, like, just if you don't know which way you swing, just experience, like, just try it. I mean, you can't knock it till you try it. It might not be what you want, or it might be a bit of something that you like. And that's the thing, is that this sort of place and this forum that we're doing is such a safe place that anything goes. No one's going to judge you at all.
And that's
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing, to feel safe.
Yeah.
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 No
Even if you
shame.
want to do it with somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to
Definitely.
explore, just make yourself feel safe.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies.
Ladies.
Hey, thank you so much.
Good.
Yeah, we will have another live stream, but with another set of chat panel on November 21, but it's gonna be for the opposite sex. So they're gonna be giving they're gonna be giving their thoughts on
Yes,
certain
that's gonna
things.
be
So
really
we're gonna be
good.
looking forward for that. But
Yeah.
after that, I don't know when we were gonna have our next chat, ladies. But yeah, but next month we're gonna be looking forward for the male panel.
We'll
So
have to get on the comment section this
Yeah.
Oh, I
yeah.
Go
can't
hard.
wait. Give the
Time
boys
for
a bit of
it's
a
our get back.
tease.
Yep.
And I think, like, you know, we know our perspective, and I do feel women got the raw end of the stick, you know, being JWs, but it's interesting to understand, like, how the males felt about it. Like, you know, were they uncomfortable with a lot of things that were happening in the organisation? I think a lot of them weren't, but yeah, it's interesting to obviously hear another point of view. So that'd be really great to hear them all chat.
Getting to know them.
Definitely missed having Sasha in the comments tonight, because he's usually here going.
Yeah, he's very good.
I'm surprised he doesn't
I
just
think
pop
he's
in
on
on
the
the
panel.
camera.
Yeah, he's gonna be on the panel next month.
He's on the
Sasha.
panel, great.
Yes.
Yeah. So
So
we'll be there for
that.
Sasha.
Yeah.
So okay. Thank you, ladies.
right,
Bye,
Thank you so much.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone who are watching and who are giving comments. Thank you for the questions. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
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 Ciao, Kite.
See ya.